before we return to the second half of episode 13 of the Fancy Ramen podcast, I will note we will be spoiling up to episode 8 of the anime Another. Thank you.
Recording things and shit.
Yeah, we're back.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Back. Guess who's back? Back again.
Shady's
Cookie's back.
Cookie.
Tell a friend.
Oh, you're not Slim Shady? I thought we had requested Slim Shady for this podcast in particular.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not the real Slim Shady. I'm just one of the imitatees.
So, Scott, you've been playing a very interesting game lately. Why don't you tell us a little bit about The Long Dark?
Wait, a lawn dart?
A lawn dart?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a pretty hard backyard game simulator.
You really have to calculate the wind and air resistance as you're throwing the lawn dart.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Oh man, calculating wind and air resistance. Maybe not to that level of detail, but so far I haven't been able to hit anything with the bow. This game, holy shit. So I've been looking into this. I think it originally released as in its alpha sandbox back in 2014 at some point in time on Steam. And so I've been looking into it for a long time and just waiting to succumb to finally buying it. And so I picked actually a really excellent moment in time to do so. Because currently on thelongdark.com, there's just a countdown with one of their trademark symbols. And we've got 3 days, 22 hours, and 21 minutes remaining till whatever that reveal is going to be.
Oh.
Yeah, so a lot of people on the Long Dark subreddit are really enthused, and there's all sorts of different ideas of what it could be. Some people think it might be time for there to finally be the first edition, the first chapter, the story mode. Otherwise, there's also some people who are a little bit more of cynics that are just it'll be an update to the alpha or something like that. But my favorite cynics among them are the ones who are yeah, it'll just be an alpha update, but it's going to be a moose. They're going to bring moose in. And everybody's bring the moose. We want it.
Oh my gosh. So what do you do in the game?
Yeah, what is this game is an excellent question. Both the story and the sandbox operate under the premise that you play as in the story you play as William Mackenzie. I don't know much about him besides that his plane has crashed over the Canadian northern wilderness. And so he now has to survive after this geomagnetic world event has crashed his plane and stranded him in the unfortunate near tundra of northern Canada.
Oh.
And so the sandbox mode, essentially you start off, I assume in the story mode, you're going to be climbing out of plane wreckage to start the game, like the forest. What's this? Is that the video of it?
Yeah, there was what looked like a moose, but actually I think it was a deer.
Yeah, there's deer. And they move slightly better than the deer and everything. They don't roll on their face. They actually walk, which is real nice. Because it'd be really hard to shoot them if they're rolling at you. How do I get a headshot? So the way that the story mode will probably work is with that start. The sandbox, you just pick a map, and all of the locations are interconnected, which I did not know earlier, it's pretty cool. And they've been regularly updating and modifying this game for people to play in the sandbox mode since they released it in 2014. Oh. But basic premise is you load your screen in some sort of sometimes really deep or esoteric quote from a philosopher or an author or something comes
Charles
up.
Hamilton
about
once said,
I
look
about
good in pink.
Survival or existentialism or something like that. And then as the screen fades from black to the regular field of view, you start. And your goal is to survive as long as you possibly can before you fade into the long dark, which is a euphemism for death. Yeah. It is a game with permadeath. So if you it saves whenever you sleep, enter or exit a building, and I can't remember if there's actually anything else that does that. Mm-hmm. So it's very rare when any saving actually happens. And as soon as you die, it immediately deletes all of your saves
Oh, yeah.
relevant
Damn.
to that. Yeah. There's no turning
no
back.
Coming back. Yeah.
Exactly, which makes the whole the experience feels like a survival experience.
So how long
adore
have
it.
you survived?
So there's achievements all the way up to 200 days.
Okay.
And you will realize when you look at the achievements, and there's a reason I'm talking about the achievements and not telling you my time just yet. When you look at the achievements, it starts out, you survive 1 day, and then there's one where you survive 2, and then 5, and then 10, I think 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, and 200.
Wow.
And so that kind of demonstrates, with the early achievements, how they're very close to one another, how much of a learning curve you start out with. Because the first time I played, I lasted, I think, less than a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I played again. And on my second run, I went 2 or 3 days. No, actually, that's right. I went a whole day. And then in day 2, I died again. And the ways that I have died have been numerous and varied.
Wow.
I was first killed by a wolf attack, which caught me off guard. I had nothing to defend myself, so it attacked me, and then I lost a bunch of blood, and then I froze to death while I
Wow.
was bleeding out because I couldn't heal.
Oh, wow.
The second time, I was climbing a rope, and I thought I had enough energy to do it, and I got 3/4. Actually, no, I'd say 90% of the way up. I'm real
Oh,
close to
wow.
getting to the top. And I ran out of I just ran out of juice. I was too tired. I didn't have enough
Wow.
energy. So I started losing my grip, and I fell from the rope, and I was freaking out, and then I caught the rope.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was oh, thank goodness. So I'm I'm going to try and climb down slow, and then I fell and
Oh, no.
broke my neck and died.
Wow.
I have frozen out in the wilderness, trying to survive because I haven't found a shelter and a blizzard has come in. I've been lost in the dark and frozen then because I can't even find my bedroll to fall asleep into because I've run out of light source. Everything about this game, it is every moment you have to be working towards your survival.
So
And,
what do you need to survive?
well, you're going to have 4 basic meters that you deal with.
Okay.
Your top one is
Plutonium? Is it plutonium?
It's not plutonium, no. And you might be hard pressed to find it in northern Canada.
Uranium.
You'll find plenty of that in northern Canada. Slay a moose and just open it up. And you'll find as much as you need.
Only if the new moose patch comes out, though.
Yeah, new super moose patch. So you have a cold meter, which is essentially, are you regulating your body temperature? And when that depletes all the way down to 0. You have a condition that it starts at 100%, and when condition reaches 0, you're dead.
Okay.
That's how you know that you will fade into the long dark. And so with the cold meter, that will lower anytime you're below. And I also play in metric because I'm a scientist, and metric is the superior measurement system.
Yes.
Yeah, because measuring I could boil half a liter or 0.26 gallons of
Right.
something. I don't want to do all this math. Half a liter sounds right. But so once it depletes down to 0, your condition will start to lower. And you can also suffer effects of hypothermia. And if you get frostbite is a permanent defect to you. So if you get frostbite, you may be
Oh.
permanently crippled in your movement speed or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's meter 1. Meter 2 is rest or energy. So you need to sleep. If you get to the point where you deplete that all the way down, I don't know what happens because I haven't had that happen yet. But I think you get blurred vision. I mean, it'd be crazy if you got hallucinations like some
Mhm.
people do when they're
Mhm.
sleep deprived. But so, yeah, it should affect your vision, and you should be almost incapable of doing anything because you're really low on energy. I think you lose your ability to do any sort of sprint or hustle. And so
Does
you're
it
more
force you
sluggish.
to sleep, basically?
That's another thing. I don't know
Yeah.
if it would force you to sleep. You need something to sleep with, like a bedroll or a
Oh.
bed or something
Mm-hmm.
of the sort. And so I don't know if you just pass
Collapse,
out
yeah.
from exhaustion.
Hmm.
I think if you pass out from exhaustion, that's because your condition has reached 0 at that point and you die because you haven't slept and you're eaten by wolves.
Right.
The next one is next one is thirst. So
Okay.
that one's pretty easy to manage. If you can, like, you're going to be needing to make a fire to warm up quite a bit. And so if you can make a fire, you can melt snow. And then if you can boil the water to purify it,
Right.
then you can deal with your thirst. So I don't know what the negative effects of that are either. Try not to do that. Hunger, though. Hunger is one that I'm very familiar with.
What can you eat?
You can eat whatever you find. And sometimes it's like a can of dog food. And other times it's like fresh venison from a deer that you've just killed.
Oh, nice.
Or if you found a deer that has died and frozen out in the wilderness, you can cut out, some of its meat and try and take that home and cook that up.
Is there any like plants or anything? that
Yeah,
you can
there's
find?
plants. I'm eating cattail stalks. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm metagaming at a point now. Like I'm doing like hibernation or like calorie counting in the sense that you burn the least amount of calories when you sleep. And so
Right.
I will load up on the calories that make as long as you keep the meter up, your condition won't reduce. So I just make sure that I keep my calorie count above like 150 before I fall asleep. So I can restore any like loss of condition while I sleep, assuming I keep my like cold, rest, and thirst meters quenched. And so with food, it's really tricky though, because there's never enough food. Like
yeah.
it's really hard to find a surplus. I'm eating moldy granola bars. You can get sick if you eat uncooked meat.
Oh,
You can get
okay.
like, I think, parasites or
What if you don't boil the water? Can you get sick? from
yeah,
it?
you can get sick from that. You can get like dysentery from that,
Okay.
which is really bad.
Yeah.
I have avoided most of the like disease and illness things so far,
Nice.
luckily.
Yeah. So is
Um,
there no other people in the game? Like it's like
They're
you're
frozen and I'm
deserted?
looting their bodies.
Oh wow.
I think they may have some of that for the story mode, but for the sandbox, no. The sandbox doesn't have that.
Oh okay. Okay.
And so like that alone, like it is very entertaining and enjoyable as a sandbox game right now.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. I have a Moleskin. I was telling Cookie and Neil about this. I have a Moleskin notebook that I broke out, and I've been recording like how long each fuel lasts for a fire. A stick
Oh.
lasts 8 minutes of fire.
Wow.
Reclaimed wood does, like this amount, and a log is an hour and 40 minutes of fire or something.
Wow.
Yeah, and it if it's like fir or cedar or some other type of wood, then that's also different. So I've been noting that. I've been noting cook times, like 0.8 grams of venison is 20 minutes of cook time, I
Oh,
think.
wow.
Yeah, like
What?
I am crunching the numbers at every moment possible because it's necessary. I feel
Oh,
like
okay.
for me to
survive.
succeed and thrive, I need to be as on top of my game as possible. I feel like I'm becoming survivalist, and when I'm up in Montana, maybe I'll just like go out into the backwoods. and-
Start
Is
lighting
this
sticks
how-
on fire
Yeah,
and being
start
like, this should
surviving.
last 8 minutes.
If you ever,
Why is it not? Yeah.
Is
if you
this-
ever watch 13 Reasons Why again and have an anxiety attack and end up in the wilderness,
I know
You
what
might
to do.
survive,
yeah,
yeah.
I know exactly what to do.
Is it a
Damn,
PC game?
I love this game. Yeah, it's on PC. I've
Okay.
honestly, I don't put games on my Surface, and I'm thinking about putting this game on
Oh,
my Surface
wow.
because I want to be able to play this all the time.
will your Surface be able to run it?
Yeah.
Probably.
Oh.
Yeah.
50-50.
It's a pretty game, but it is very much that like minimalistic style, and it's kind of got that watercolor look to it. Everything's still clean cut. There's not a lot of like blending or
It looks like the Pacific Northwest of Life is Strange.
Or of Firewatch?
Yeah,
Actually,
it
it
looks
looked like
a lot like
Firewatch in the winter.
Firewatch. Yeah, Firewatch with snow. Almost the same thing. So I think my Surface can run it.
Which, did you guys play Firewatch?
No.
Okay.
I did see that
I gotta take a note
that
of that.
ad that car company did.
Say what?
The ad that the
What's
car
that about?
company ran. So there was an ad that was clearly looking like the Firewatch poster that a car company did, and everyone was like,
Oh,
"Oh, that kind of
Because
looks."
I'm a gamer, now I want that car.
no.
I think it's more
all the
like,
gamers were
that's
like
a clever like design. I like it. Let's take it.
pretty
Yeah.
much, and all the gamers were like,
Can't do that.
dudes that made Firewatch. Like a lot of people reposted that ad to the Firewatch Twitter feed. They're like, "Hey guys, know that this is going on. You guys are a small company, big car company.
Don't let them steal.
Right.
I wonder if there's anything they can do in regards to that, though, because if they're just taking the like artistic vision or theme
So
they're
you know,
using.
when you think Firewatch, you think that that iconic poster with the red color scheme background.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of it's orange and
Yeah,
yellow
the-
kind of color.
The what you call it
Is it
tower?
the-
like a
it's
blatant
called a
ripoff
watchtower.
of that?
Yeah, the watchtower.
The
It's
fire
pretty much
watchtower.
it's pretty much that,
But the car is
poster
the tower.
without the watchtower.
Mm,
Mm.
okay.
Wow.
So it kind of takes some liberties.
So how many days do you guys think that I've survived?
Ooh, speaking of, how many days have you survived?
50?
Okay, Lizzie's a 50.
Not 50. I'm going much lower than 50.
Okay.
So I'm going around between 15 and 20.
15 and 20. Okay, and you, Neil.
You've told me before.
And that may
at
have
that
changed.
point in time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 5.
Whoa.
I've made it to 12 days.
Oh, no.
Oh, so close. I'm the
Yeah, I thought
closest.
you were going to say 12 when you had twa instead of 20. And I was like, is he going to do it? That's a lot of numbers to pick from.
So you've
Impressive.
improved a lot since we last talked.
Wow.
I feel like I have grown exponentially. It doesn't mean that I haven't had, I have not gotten better every playthrough where I live longer. I should note that. Because every once in a while you spawn and I'm like, I don't know where the fuck I am. I don't
Yeah.
have anything. I'm freezing cold.
It
It's
sounds-
randomized for the weather conditions and
Right.
things like that. This game makes drama by the fact that just it is the true lack of acknowledgement from Mother Nature about what your needs are, what's going on. I don't think it's got a storyteller AI kind of thing going on, where it's it looks like Scott's a little low on rations. Maybe we should throw him, a can next time he opens up this file cabinet when he's scavenging. No, I think it's much more this is how it randomly played out. This is how the world works. You might be fucked just because of how
things are
the
set
numbers are
up.
rolled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
there
kind of like Don't Starve. Depending on the monsters in your
I've been told
area
that it
and stuff.
kind of is Don't Starve. Yeah, there was this time where I was trapped in a fishing hut out on a lake because I went out to fish and it was super clear. I spent a couple hours out there and I got a ton of fish. I'm like, this was an awesome decision. This is
Nice.
great. And a blizzard kicked up
Oh,
immediately
God.
and I got stuck in there. And I didn't bring my bedroll with me. So I'm
no.
depleting in exhaustion. It's getting really cold and I'm getting really hungry. And so I had almost a week in game time earlier, been at that fishing hut and be like, I'm going to need to fish here sometime soon. I'm going to leave a bunch of supplies just in case I I was going to leave some food and I was like, I'll leave some firewood and some tinder and some stuff just in case I need to start a fire and I don't drag this all out with me. I saved my life by leaving that behind.
Oh, wow.
It was a lucky break, but it was amazing. It felt amazing because I'm I looked out for myself and I was able to survive this. I would have died if I hadn't had that forethought and planning.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just really get fucked on how things work out.
Right.
I was stuck at the opposite end of one of these maps and I'm trying to get back to what is currently my home base. And there's a couple ways to get there, but one way is the most expeditious. It will take the least amount of time. And I had wolves stake out where I was at for at least 3 or 4 days. And then when I killed both of those wolves,
How did you kill
finally,
him?
I used a rifle.
Okay.
Oh man. Yeah. there was a day I spent just cleaning my rifle.
Oh my God.
It's really tough. You never know what's going to come up next. So every minute and every decision you make just totally adds to the tension and the excitement of the game. So
Sounds
I
like a
finally
lot
killed the
of-
wolves and
Oh, nice.
yeah, I'm like, I need to go now while the weather's nice. And I got halfway and a blizzard picks up. And
Oh,
I'm like, okay,
God.
I got to wait again.
Yeah.
I go back and my supplies are running low at this subsidiary base that I'm at. I go out again and there's a blizzard kicks up and then there's a wolf on the tracks ahead of me.
Oh.
And my scent is going to be blowing downwind towards him, which they pick up on that. I love that. Yeah, the wind, animals can pick up
Wow.
on your scent if the wind is blowing it at it. And if you're in wind cover, you don't take a penalty for the cold and whatnot. It really seems to be comprehensive about the environment. It feels like a game that has just some very simple mechanics, but they work so impeccably well that it feels very real. And very well represented. So I ultimately had the option of probably freeze to death trying to go back to the place that like my subsidiary base, or find a way to make it through the blizzard and deal with the wolf, or like get around the wolf and make it back to the other cabin. And so I took a route that I hadn't done before, where I like hiked up into the hills, which it turns out gave me some wind cover that I wasn't expecting. And the wolf got my scent, but it caught my scent when I was still low. So when I got higher up, the wolf seemed confused as to where I was at.
Nice.
And so it kept like walking along the railway back to where I was. And so it's just small moments of triumph. It totally is. People who have that like Dark Souls player mentality need to try this game out, because every little success that you have feels amazing, and every failure feels like a learning experience. Like, okay, we just got to go right back at it. Just get right into it.
I'm curious, is there an end game? Like, are you supposed to?
The story mode will have an end game, but there is no end game to the alpha right now in the sandbox. So I'm hoping that this countdown is for the story mode, as much as I'd like a moose. And if that's the case, it's only 4 days out.
Wow.
Yeah.
And for those who are curious, The Long Dark is now on early access on Steam for $19.99.
And it was $10 last week, I should say. So it was on sale, and that's why I picked it up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of stuff can kill you.
That it is all about survival. There's not a thing about it that's not like punishing or dangerous.
Available on Xbox One, Microsoft Windows, Linux, Macintosh operating system.
Nice.
Do you think they're actually available on Xbox One right now? Is there a green or a early access?
Yeah,
I think
do
they
actually
use
think
Windows
they have.
10 for Xbox One now, so I probably.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, I read something about that it is available for Xbox. It's certainly formatted for my Xbox controller, which is nice too.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
For the longest time you survived, 12 days, how long were you playing? Do you play continuously? Because you said it doesn't save very often.
Yeah, it does not save very often. So like before I came over here, I had to plan out like what I was going to do. Like I had at maybe an hour and a half before here is when I booted up the game. And about 30 minutes in, I was like, oh shit. Like I've got two options here. And it's like, go ahead and just like stop now where I'm at.
Right.
Or do I think that I can get to like shelter or a bed in time to like make it to record? Because otherwise, like if I don't get to anything to save and I exit out, it just takes me to my last save unless I die. And that's the other thing too, is I'm like, it would be really stupid of me to like do something risky.
Do you ever get the like the thought of, I guess you probably wouldn't get this until later on.
You could save scum with it too as well. Like let's say I got I went out and I got caught in that blizzard again, like when I was fishing.
Oops, power outage.
Oh, yeah, I could just be like end game, and then it'll take me to the last time when I exited the cabin to walk over there. So, that was a couple hours ahead of time. That's not that much lost game time. But I'm playing the honor system here, just like, I'm going to make every decision count as best as it can.
For experimentation purposes, I'd be curious if you went up, let's say you entered a building, so it saves at that point. Then you go and open a chest or chest. What the fuck?
I open a locker.
Yeah.
Book bag.
And I see if it's got the same stuff.
And then, quit, load it back up and see if it's the same thing. Not necessarily saying that's you obviously aren't going to do that as a serious playthrough, but I'm curious to see whether things are generated
ahead of time or not.
Yeah.
I believe things are generated ahead of time because they have a global decay system that they added on the last patch. So now they used to be able to, what players would do, I think, earlier in some versions of the game is like they know that there would be probably like a guaranteed spawn in some areas of a certain item. Like there are some areas where there's like a guaranteed spawn of a gun because there is a hunter's corpse that is always there every time because it's a landmark with like a title on it or something. Oh man, I'm gonna be drawing up maps for this game. I'm so excited. But I think what some people were doing is they're like, I'm not going to go there and like, I'm not going to go and interact with anything until I absolutely need it because I don't want to start like a DK timer on this like can of beans because I may need these beans way later and I'm willing to trek out to get them at that point in time as opposed to get them now and then have them spoil when I could, when I could forage for myself in some other way. I guess the last thought I've got on it, and then if you guys have any other questions, is that before I reached this 12-day mark, like my game was going pretty well. And then it was just like, it was a really foolish mistake. Like there was something I wanted to do. I wanted to like climb this cliff face, and I got up it, and I realized that I didn't manage my stamina well enough that I would have enough to climb back down, but it was a halfway point to get onto another climbing rope to go up. And I thought, okay, I can sleep here for now because in my sleeping bag, I'll get some warmth back. I can start a fire. I can eat a little bit. I got trapped up on top of there in a blizzard with like no visibility at night. And so I froze to death at night out there.
Wow.
And it was just this stupid decision. I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? That was a terrible idea. And instead of kicking myself, like I thought I was going to be really upset about it as soon as I realized I died. And then I just booted it back up and started a new sandbox. And I named the new sandbox Don't Freeze. And that's the one that I'm playing now because I froze to death in the last one. And just washed away immediately. Like, didn't even care about it. Like, I was like, lessons learned. I know it. I have a better plan this time. And so I thought it was going to be like really heartbreaking or tough. And I didn't know if I'd necessarily be able to deal with the loss of all that like time and input.
Yeah.
This game is great in the fact that I haven't felt any sort of like anguish or unfairness in it. It's always like, I just want to get back and do some more.
Get better.
So, I do have a question. How long do you think the day-night cycle is?
Oh, time-wise, for real time, I assume is what you're asking. So like,
yeah, so like, is it 24 minute day? So like the 1 minutes per hour, basically?
I think it's much longer than that. Like if I play for an hour, that might be a whole day's worth of time, but that's including like sleeping as well. Yeah. So every activity that you do, that's like, say I'm working on a pair of deerskin pants right now. And so I'm about to look real fashionable. But when I go to do something with the deerskin pants, I can choose to commit to working on them with my sewing kit for like half of an hour or a full hour. Or if I go to like cook something over the fire, it'll take me, say, 20 minutes in the game time. And so that clock will like, a meter will go by essentially, for the time, and the clock will speed to meet that next time point. However, if I'm just walking around, it does not move that fast, honestly. I feel like it might be 5 minutes for every hour at the very minimum, if not more. And so with a 24-hour day, you know, you're looking at 100 or so hours if you were to be awake the whole time. Or 100 so minutes for the whole 24-hour period.
If you're awake and just walking, because
if you're awake and just walking around, which would be impressive because I don't think that's possible. You probably starve, freeze, and like lose sleep.
So how many hours was your 12-day?
I don't
survival?
I don't have any log of that.
Oh, you don't?
As far as I know, yeah. Man, this game, I could talk about it forever.
The way you talk about restarting too reminds me of the same mentality we've spoken of, maybe not on the podcast before, but about Dark Souls games.
That's Souls exactly games what I'm saying, yeah. But I think that this may be a little bit easier. Like Dark Souls, even sometimes when I fuck up in Dark Souls, I'm like, oh, this is bullshit.
Yeah,
like,
you're still pissed.
I still do get sour about some stuff. Like, especially, I remember when I was playing the original Dark Souls, there were a couple times where I'd have like a massive amount of souls in my inventory because I couldn't get to a bonfire to level up. Oh, you know what? It was even worse in Dark Souls 2 where you had to go to a bonfire and then go back to Majula.
Yeah.
So there were several times where I'd lose like 30,000 souls, and it would be early enough in the game. I'm like, that's like 6 levels. That's a lot that I've lost. I'm like, shit. And I just turn it off. I'm like, I can't deal with that kind of loss right now. This game, not feeling that way at all. And it's maybe because you don't like everything that existed in that game prior is gone as soon as you die. And so you don't feel like you lost something that you could have had because everything's washed from the start. while in Dark Souls, it's like, I killed this boss. I can't just go back and fight the boss again and get these souls back. You feel like you've permanently deleted a useful resource in that case.
So speaking of survival, have you ever considered surviving in a cursed classroom before?
Hey.
Oh,
Are we about to talk about another?
transition.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about another, or are we going to read about another?
Hey, well, I might tell you about my reading from another, but we watched episode 5 through 8. Did you also like?
Yeah. I'm keeping myself fresh. My wife is refusing to watch.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame you, because
Ugh.
I think once you get the ultimate payoff, or it might not be ultimate, but once you get the payoff, I think the value of this anime may drop significantly.
It does,
Yeah.
but only reason I really suggested it was because of that whole for
Yeah,
the mystery aspect.
I
of it.
like animes and stories for that matter, media that have mysteries. Scott, you're grinning.
Did anybody else freak out when people were like melting and he pulled his like flesh off of his face?
Like freaking out
for
as
his
in-
dream.
Yeah, because he thought like he wasn't sure if he was dead or not. I'm like, I already told you were dead back on the last podcast recording. Like, you're dead.
that just served as more evidence for
Man.
me that he's probably alive. Like, why would you point it out even more that the main character could potentially be dead if he's actually the dead one?
The way that they depict just all of the like gore or like death in this show is actually pretty good. I like it. It's pseudo artistic. Like,
It's Final Destination,
it is.
Yeah.
Class 3-3 style.
So like I enjoyed too. I finally got to pick up on like understanding the symbolism of like a nonchalant shot that happens earlier before a death happens. So at the end of episode 8, somebody gets they get dissolved by a speedboat rotor, right? At the very beginning, she's dissolving a sugar cube in her tea, and you see it just break up into small bits and disperse through the water of the tea. And I was like, holy
Wow.
shit.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. It's a 1 second shot. And I saw that and I was like, man, somebody's gonna die real bad.
was this
Yeah.
because the last episode I mentioned, hey, they got these
umbrella?
1 second shots?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
where they linger on
But
things for about half a second and
for-
call it a day?
For the teacher, I could not think of what it was. When he killed himself with the knife, I had no idea.
I
what they
didn't
were.
either.
Yeah, if there was a smoking gun there.
That one kind of came out of nowhere. Even
Yeah.
my second watch through, I remembered it was going to happen. I didn't remember how it was going to happen.
Now, before we go any further, we have an email pertaining to this topic slightly. So,
Yeah.
does anyone want to volunteer for this reading?
I'll read this. I like Dave. We got a email from a listener who has been so kind as to email us previously. This was the one listener that I was like, man, we're really letting him down with how much we talk about Persona. So, Dave, the fact that you've stuck this out, I'm impressed. You got gumption. So he says, hello, chicken soup for the young adult weeb soul. I have to reiterate, I don't personally hate the Persona franchise, but there's only so much you can say before a game even comes out. Dave, I agree. Persona's out now, and unfortunately, we've talked a lot about it. I'm not going to do that at this point, though. I'm writing in to point out that during your last episode, Neil butchered the character names tremendously from another. Also, we're unsurprised at this. That's a footnote from Scott. I think he may have mistaken Koichi for Shoichi and Seiren, but I don't blame you. They are practically the same character at first glance. It sounds like Scott and Neil may have figured out the catch to the curse that haunts 3-3 by the way you were speaking at the end of your 12th podcast. Excited to hear more. Another episodes 5 through 8.
Oh,
That's-
that
that's-
part's
no,
Yeah,
no,
now I'm just reading the show notes. Yeah.
I was like,
So I am glad that at least
I'm glad Dave's
is
still around.
yeah.
I'm glad Dave
Well,
is
he's
around, but I'm also
excited.
glad that
Yeah.
he's more than likely watching another with us at this point. So I'm
Oh.
glad that that's actually like kicking in of, hey, listen to the podcast.
I
We're
think-
doing this thing.
I think it is a cool
I want-
idea. It is
yeah,
fun.
that's awesome.
More people write in at podcast@fancyramen.com. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, we also got
Yeah.
I guess we'll probably say this real quickly. You got a recommendation anonymously of some other anime we should look at. And we may talk
Oh.
about that a little bit.
Yeah, if we have time, we'll definitely go over the list.
I think we can go over it pretty quickly. So we'll get to that in a bit as well.
Yeah. And And I'm assuming the names I was butchering is Koichi.
Yeah, you said
And then-
Shoichi, and I got confused.
I think I even said Soichi.
Soy sauce coon.
Oh, Chuck Coon.
And then,
There was a truck coon in episode 8. I thought they're driving on the highway and this truck's coming by, and I'm like, oh, they're really gonna dissolve here. Like,
Truck Coon, always forgiving people now in anime.
so and then I couldn't remember the current Misaki's name either, because I thought it was Misaki Ray.
but it's May.
Yeah.
May, yeah.
But I hate to bleat you down, Dave, but I don't know. Like, I thought I had a really solid idea of what the curse was based upon the desks.
He sounded so confident, Dave.
And
So
then
confident.
things kind of fell apart as I watched the next few episodes. But I do have some like interesting theory in my mind, which doesn't necessarily explain anything, but it's something I wanted to throw out there because I think it has a correlation to the curse itself. Or it's just I don't know. It's something that might mean something. So there are two things that link Koichi to is it Yomiyama? Yeah, whatever the fuck that town is.
Yeah.
And
Yep,
I
town.
also got this connection because I was reading the manga, or the first connection that I'll say. In particular, Izumi says that his handshake felt or feels similar, and I think that happens in the anime as well.
Yes, it
Yes.
does.
She mentions it two
This
times, I
is
think, so
this
far.
is it feels like a familiar handshake.
Yeah.
And he's also supposed to have cold hands if he's dead.
And
Maybe.
yeah, exactly.
Pure weird speculation.
I'm gonna
of
say- yeah, exactly.
Hopeful high schoolers.
I hear that Ghost's hands are cold, and yeah, Koichi's been like warming his hands by the radiator the whole time because they were feeling cold, and he shakes her hand, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's warm." Turns out he's dead.
Now, that being said, that actually wasn't in the manga, and I'll get into some of those differences if maybe. The other thing that possibly links him to being there after his birth, but before this year, is the conversation he has with his father, and when his father is mistaken that
It's not his first time there.
he thinks that they've been
In a
there a
while.
year and a half ago.
Ago.
Which,
Yeah.
whether or not like that's true, it's important that he's making that mistake, or maybe he's not mistaken. The thought that hit me was that because of the nature of the curses, as we learned through these 4 episodes,
It manipulates memory.
exactly, there might be and there's probably not, but there might be a way that Koichi did live in the town a year and a half ago, or in other words, 2 school years ago.
And
But
died
that memory,
year.
well, that could support it, because if he died that year, he could be a possible candidate as the dead student afterwards, because the dead student has to be a victim, right?
Damn straight.
It could also be explained that he lived in the town 2 school years ago, but there's a reason, or like maybe there was a victim in his family, and because that victim is now the dead student, his memory is altered in
is
a way
gone.
that he could not remember being in that town 2 years ago.
His twin brother Shoichi. Now I see what you're getting at.
So, did you like the tie-in that his mother was actually a victim
Yes.
of the curse?
And so that's another thing that makes me kind of like suspect that first off, he's the protagonist in an anime, so he's
involved, as we talked
he's
about last time.
probably tied to the curse in some way, maybe a little bit tighter than some of the other characters, I think.
Now, what really gets me, though, are the differences between the 2 forms of media here. The beach scene that we had, which ends in the student's death.
Obligatory anime beach.
Yeah, you gotta see those
beach
bikinis.
episode.
It was a great beach episode though, because I was watching, I'm like, wow, these guys are being a bunch of dicks to their friends. Like they're flipping the girls over and they're dunking the weak kid. And then they get their revenge and I'm like, oh, that's really funny. Small charming moment. And the fishing challenge as well with the octopus, and then
Oh,
he's like,
yeah.
I got a big one. It's like a baby fugu.
So all of that doesn't happen in the manga. In fact, the manga has a completely different tone, in my opinion. The anime is very, when I say cutesy, I'm not talking about the gore and the umbrella scene and stuff. The anime does a really good job of depicting some of those graphic instances, but the character designs are so moe. Like, eyes are huge.
Right.
We have very vibrant hair colors. The manga, granted, it's in black and white, but even just
So
the
they're
lines
all
themselves,
white with black hair.
yeah, more or less.
Okay.
I assume white hair in a manga is blonde or light brown hair typically.
Yeah.
I guess you can do gray for brown as well. But just like the character designs themselves are a lot more, not like I say adult, more mature maybe.
Yeah, no, I'd definitely say from looking at the cover that Cookie just showed me.
Is this the actual cover of one of the mangas?
Maybe, but that's also kind of a misrepresentation of it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
I'm not saying it's like
This is
hyper
just-
realistic anime, but it definitely is more mature looking as opposed to like the huge eyed clamp ish.
One of them does
design.
have a doll eye though, so I mean,
Yeah, that's
makes
true.
sense.
Right.
They probably just wanted her to feel more normal, so they adjusted every other eyeball to match it.
But there are some pretty interesting differences between characters too, and some of the events. None of which seem to be major story deviations. But I did appreciate that in the manga, Izumi, the girl that's in charge of countermeasures, yes, that would be a shot from it.
Okay, yeah, it does look slightly, I think less of the like big eye, crazy hair.
Yep.
Yeah.
I showed them a picture, but I covered up some stuff.
Oh, that's probably important. Izumi is the head of countermeasures in both the manga and anime. She takes, is it Yukari? Yeah, Yukari, Umbrella Girl's death way differently. She blames Misaki and Koichi a lot, and to the point where she antagonizes him more and more.
And she's kind of nonchalant about it. By
She's
the end of
like,
episode 8.
it's kind of my fault.
Well, yeah,
'Cause
in the anime, she blames herself, and
It's like,
she's
yeah,
like, "We
I
gotta
made a
get it.
mistake."
We gotta get through this together." But in the manga, she's very blatantly like, "You guys fucked up, and this, like, all of these deaths are on your shoulders."
Oh wow.
So she is not there for the cafe scene.
She should have showed up the first day then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't fucking be sick.
I think she messed up by being absent.
But we also learned that there are classes that have had the non-existent one break. So there's no guarantee. Granted, with Misaki Mei's personality, it seems like they might have been fine. But there's no guarantee that would have even worked. And we also don't know, at least Scott and I don't know the conditions of the curse at this point. So maybe having the non-existent student is merely a way that allows for that condition to be avoided most of the time. But there's
About
still
a
no
50-50
guarantee.
chance.
Yeah.
Some years we know exactly why it happened. Some years we don't.
And the worst part is by the end of the school year, they don't hold record of it or memory of why it did not happen or why it did happen, because those things are erased by then. Yeah. No big, large spiel like I had last time, though. That's about
I
it.
would say his
There-
dissertation paper was quite small this time.
Yeah. The biggest thing is that we'll be looking forward to finding out what the note or message or whatever it is that was left behind in the classroom to tell them how to avoid it.
Which I happen to know what the form the message is in, because I got to that part and I was like, wait, there's no beach scene? What the fuck? And then I
So
stopped
it's not a
reading.
message in the bottle.
It-
Yeah.
I mean, it could be for the anime. I don't know. Maybe it is. Because they're just going there to talk to the guy, and he says something along the lines of like that he left it for the students. So you assume it's back at the school or someplace.
He
in that
actually says
town.
it's in the classroom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he does.
So
Yeah.
I just didn't want to say that.
He
in
he
case
has
that
like
was not
this.
said.
It's also the thing too. He's like, I can't remember anything, and somebody gets murdered in front of him. He's like, oh my god, I left it behind in the classroom. You need to find it.
Well, the only other times that he actually says anything
Is when he's
drunk.
traumatized. Yeah.
So he's
Oh,
at the bar
yeah.
drunk and he mentions it and doesn't remember anything about it when he's sober. So anytime that he is not completely lucid is
That
when
makes sense. Yeah.
when more and more of these memories
Which
come
It
I
also
did,
explains his sister's amnesia about it too. She's like, I don't really remember what happened. We went to a shrine.
so there's a possibility that Reiko is going to have to get drunk to give the details to Koichi,
She was chugging
Which-
a beer on the beach.
which I think if she gets drunk, that's also going to be a death flag.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way in hell she's going to be able to give the secret out early. So Now, granted,
Kind of like that one kid who suffered the heart attack.
Yeah. Oh, that also does not happen in the manga. The kid just suffers the heart attack at home. He is not about to spill the beans or anything like that.
Oh, it's way better that he's about ready to say it and dies.
He's like, and this is how.
Yeah, that was the most like Death Note thing I've ever seen.
But I feel
the
like
culprit
that,
is you.
what that tells me though is
Light.
that the
Why
curse,
is he pointing at you? No. Watch, he'll fall over. Oh, he's pointing at someone else. That's not me.
What that tells me though is that the conditions of his death are leading us down the wrong path. Because if he's not being used as evidence in the manga, that means mentioning Misaki Mei or the non-existent student, I don't think is necessarily
it was a
lead to the
red
curse.
herring in the anime as far as I'm concerned.
That's what I'm assuming.
We already know Misaki Mei is dead. He hasn't touched her hand.
Except for in his mind when they were dancing together.
That scene was good. That was kind of fun.
I did enjoy that. So, yeah,
So someone mentioned Death Note.
I did.
Guess what?
You haven't seen it.
There's a series, a live action series coming on Netflix.
Yeah, we talked about this a
Yeah.
little bit when I got on my soapbox about Ghost in the Shell.
I'm excited for it.
I'll probably check it out.
I mean,
It
because
depends.
it's like we were talking about earlier, it's going to be a Netflix original. So, I think it's going to
50-50.
be good.
Yeah, I agree with Cookie. 50-50.
Really?
Well, just
No.
because it's Netflix doesn't mean it's automatically going to be
know.
great.
Because
Because
Netflix has
also,
made 1-star stuff.
because there's also they signed Adam Sandler for 6 movies.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I mean, thumbs down stuff.
Yeah, thumbs down stuff.
I had
yeah.
two quick things to point out that I forgot to mention, specifically when it came to retaining your memories.
Mhm.
It would possibly explain, too, that if Koichi had been there a year and a half ago prior to the anime, his father's memory gets shifted because he's talking to his son. So maybe that explains how he has the correct memory. And during that conversation, the effects of the curse reach him because he's all the way in India or something at this time.
It's hot as hell.
Man, did you know how hot it gets?
Sheesh, so hot.
Hotter every time I call.
The other thing that makes me believe that Koichi is not the dead one, and I don't know why this necessarily does, but in the manga, you see his father's face a shit ton. And that seems to infer that he's a real person interacting with Koichi. So, in the anime, you never see the dad.
Okay.
You never really see the faces of the grandparents. You only see Reiko. And for that reason, I'm kind of giving more creed to the fact that Koichi's alive.
This is the last time we'll be recording before we know the conclusion of this series. So I'm doubling down. Koichi's dead. May might be dead. I'm betting on at least one of them, if not both being
That's
dead.
interesting.
Yeah. So, and it sounds like you believe that both of them are alive, and there is a different student who is
Yes.
dead. Okay.
So-
I
All right,
initially
guys. Scott
thought-
v. Neil.
So I initially thought, and I was talking to Tiff about this. I thought it was going to be the class representative, the boy with glasses.
I don't even
And she shot
seem
that
to
down.
know or
So
care who that is.
he has a little more face time in the manga.
Mm.
And the one thing I had heard is that the manga has better foreshadowing over who it is.
Ooh.
So I assumed, like, just by that thought, I was like, well, it might be him then. But I don't really have much evidence to point out that reason.
Do you have any other guesses?
No.
Predictions. Scott's going for a double dose of dead people.
Yep.
Neil's just like, it's somebody.
Mine's
I
the
don't know.
gutsy call. Like, I could be really wrong. And if anything, it seems like it's nobody needs to be shaking any heads yet. But
Just don't look at Tiff. She gives everything away.
yeah.
No offense.
It's one of those things where I also actually anticipate it to be like they're obvious red herrings and that they want us to like suspect our main characters at different points in time. Because I've fallen for that before where I have ignored a main character, like in Erased, where I'm like, they can't be the murderer. It would just be too easy. Like it's
They
too
might
simple,
share
yeah.
the same eye color and build and kind of haircut.
No.
But
Even before that though, like there were some very subtle things where I'm like, like they didn't show any details about the killer yet. And I'm like, well, it's way too obvious to cast suspicion upon this character. I was like, you'd know who the killer was in the first couple episodes. Well, I was mistaken. So now I'm willing to reverse it and totally follow what last time was not a red herring. And so now I'm going to double down on the red herring this time, potentially. We'll see how it goes.
I like it. So before we get into news and stuff, because as of right now, like you said, this is going to be the last time that we actually record before we know the conclusion of another. And we can discuss this a little more later, whatever, what have you.
Yeah.
Magic of editing. Ooh. Do we want to talk about kind of just a little bit on that anonymous email that I received about the 10 short anime, so we can kind of start discussing a little bit if we wanted to do another watch this series where we talk about something? Because I like keeping it 2 shorter animes rather than like, obviously we're not about to start Bleach or One Piece.
Naruto.
Really?
Yo,
I thought we were going to do One Piece.
Yo, I'll tell you how that ends. What was it? A mediocre wedding episode?
Yeah.
There you go, guys.
Actually, okay, so after I actually watched the wedding episode, I was dogging on the jeebers out of that wedding episode. Then I actually saw it and I was like,
yeah, it's a suitable ending from what I've gathered.
yeah.
Coming from like the Naruto hater here. So
Wait, you're the hater?
yeah, fuck Naruto.
Okay.
I was about to say, Scott
like-
is on record saying, I thought all episodes of Naruto were filler.
Yeah, you're basically right. You can take like 10 episodes from the start of the series and then the ending, and then like have one episode that just briefly describes his journey from
basically
ninja
just
to Hokage.
Basically just watch the last 10 episodes where it's like, it says
because they probably have a bunch of
perfect day.
flashbacks.
It's just
to old stuff.
all flashbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the beginning and how he interacted with every single character.
Naruto's a better anime from the standpoint of his teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just watch all the scenes he's in, you get the full story.
That's quite literally the last 10 episodes.
Yeah.
It's just following around his teacher. And he's like, I haven't really dealt with Naruto in years. And now I'm hearing all these stories about what he's done and how he's touched people.
Anybody who hasn't watched Naruto just got like a 20 episode series to watch. They may actually enjoy. Holy shit.
Believe it.
It'd be a lot more interesting too because you have the time jump from like the first however many you need to watch to the end where you're just now like, wow, how is he a hero? Oh, this is how he became a hero, as opposed to watching 10 episodes of him charging up his Shirin Ganin Ritzenku.
Wait, his spirit ball?
He only does that 3 times.
Cookie's counting. He's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
No. Because it was like the one episode where he was just like, okay, I'm going to learn how to do this Rasengan thing.
Yeah.
And that was like a 4 episode filler. Then there was the episode where he had to charge his spirit magic, nature magic.
Oh.
His typhoon ball, his hurricane.
So
disc
basically
pump.
he had some clones back in another area,
Charging
like meditating, charging ki. And as he would run out of ki, he would bring
Is
one
it
of the
ki
clones.
or chi?
Chi.
Okay.
Chi.
Lattes.
But-
Chai latte. Yeah.
But I've been watching Dragon Ball Z, so it's key.
really.
But yeah, I'm complaining about filler. I'm watching DBZ Kai at least. And so
They got rid of 90% of the filler.
Exactly. They did cut out a lot of it. Like I said earlier with my Food Network antics, I have not gotten the full picture of the Majin Buu saga, and so I've been trying to watch that.
All right, I'm shaking my head. Let's go over those 10 animes real quick.
Okay, I can't really access it.
I got them pulled up right now.
Sweet.
So the first one is called Codebreaker, and there's IMDb scores on it, like lowest to highest. And so Codebreaker is a 7.1 out of 10. Riding the bus one day, Sakura Koji looks out the window to
Student A. That's how whenever I'm reading anime descriptions.
Oh yeah,
so
Student A looks out the window to see people being burned alive with a blue fire as a boy her age remains unharmed and stands over the people. When she goes back to the site the next day, there are no corpses or evidence of any kind of murder, just a small fire. When Student A goes to class, she discovers the new transfer student is the same boy she saw the day before.
Student B.
Student A learns that
Student B.
Student B is Student B, the 6th code breaker, a special type of assassin with a strange ability and a member of a secret organization.
He's a
that serves
shitty
government.
assassin if someone sees him kill someone.
Yeah,
True.
yeah.
Next.
That's why he only got a 7.1 out
Yeah.
of 10 on his assassin scores. Blood Lad. I've actually I've read this manga somewhat.
I think I've seen the first couple episodes.
It's kind of weird. And it was maybe a little too fan servicey for me.
Yeah, this one the anime is not off of reading the manga. It's not that fan servicey compared to some of the other things on this list. So
Yeah,
I don't
I
know
guess
what's
that's true.
too fan servicey for you.
Anything.
I know.
Anything that shows the
'Cause I wanna
human
say-
body, it should be covered.
I want to say High School of the
This is
Dead's on
trying
this
to
list.
shame
so-
women's bodies.
Yeah, I heard about that. I'm trying to shame
Real good
everybody.
High School of the Dead, real good story.
Uh,
Super heavy.
it was
Okay.
It took away from the.
So that's
story,
on the
really.
list. Blood Lad is pretty entertaining. Like this is, from what I know, it's funny. It's sort of action oriented, where it's just like, how is Staz gonna get out of this like combat predicament? And the story goes in a lot of weird places. If you like stuff that works with like
Yokai,
we're talking yokai is horror, right? Or like-
ghosts.
Ghost. Okay. Yeah. This has got it's got vampires like Dracula, who I believe is
One of-
Daz's dad, if I remember correctly.
I think so, actually.
Yeah, and so he's got some like other vampire siblings that are pretty entertaining. His best friend is werewolf. Like, it's an entertaining show, and it seemed pretty fun and lighthearted for the most part. Also, I remember now he's a total otaku. Like, he's a huge otaku, and so they do like otaku shout outs throughout the show.
Yes.
Yeah, which is kind of fun. So he's from like the demon world, but he's obsessed with Japanese
So
like
he,
culture
like,
and anime and stuff.
So the
He
story
does a
kind
lot of
goes-
references to stuff.
So the story goes basically like he's shopping trip in the real world, leaves a portal open, human falls through, dies, becomes a ghost, and
now he has to fix
antics
her.
ensue.
Yeah. And he's kind of obsessed with her for one reason or another. But entertaining characters. I don't think that's actually that short, is it? Like,
It says
It's
less
a-
than 30 episodes.
it's a longer narrative though. Like, I know the manga goes far enough ahead where that many episodes doesn't cover it. Cookie recommended, there's Guilty Crown. I haven't seen this. I don't know anything about it.
I know Guilty Gear is.
Guilty Crown just looks like another action anime where people have special powers.
Biological hazard known as the apocalypse virus plunges Japan into a state of chaos. And then shit happens, resistance organization.
Something lost Christmas incident. Sounds
Lost
sad.
Christmas.
Why is the Grinch in this? He apparently stole it and then lost it.
Dead Man Wonderland is 7th. A massive anomaly ravaged Japan's mainland and destroyed most of Tokyo, sinking 3/4 of the city into the ocean. 10 years
A
later, the
kid
story
gets
shifts.
framed for murdering his class when really this person called the Red Man kills his whole class. And so he goes to a prison that is a
That-
theme park that murders people.
Yeah, so basically
Nice.
it's privatization,
Privatization.
Privatization.
A privatized prison.
privatization of a prison that
Turned into
they
entertainment. for
turned
the
it into a
masses.
theme park for the
Yeah.
masses, basically.
To watch inmates die
And
while
there
trying to
are
complete challenges.
2 levels of this theme park. First level is for like lesser offenders, and they're like, okay, yeah, all you got to do,
Cannon fodder.
pretty much, all you got to do, keep your head down, do your job. If you do your job, you make enough points, you get to take this pill. If you don't take this pill, your candy,
You die.
once every couple of days, you die.
Yeah.
6th, High School of the Dead. We don't need to talk about that.
Yep.
Fan service.
A
Fifth.
lot.
Another. We also don't need to talk about that.
So we're watching this. For anybody who's interested, rewind a little bit. Sword Art Online, that's a skip. I skipped past that too.
that's-
Noragami, I think Cookie has watched, and
I have seen.
I've watched and read a little bit. So I watched the first season, and the first season is different from the first story arc in the manga. So I think if you like the manga, you should watch the anime, and vice versa. If you like the anime, you should read the manga. And if you haven't done either, maybe check it out. I don't know. Like, there's nothing that we could talk about though if we watched that.
we need
So,
something that has like some sort of hook or gimmick.
Yeah, it's
to
got to be a
keep us-
mystery to solve. We're sleuths here, and don't give us case closed.
We're
I
the
swear to
investigation
God.
team.
We don't have that kind of time.
Oh, crap. There's another anime about a detective that's not quite case closed, but kind of case closed. I watched the
Okay.
first episode and was like, this is dumb. Then I called it a day.
No Game, No Life, number 2. 8.2 out of 10.
This
I don't
is
know
Did
where to
not
start.
have an ending.
My sister was interested in this, and then she said it had brother sister love, and so
It's
I
not-
hopped out.
It's not really brother sister love.
They're only related
It's-
by.
No. They're actually not really in love, though. So, like, they're just taking care of each other. So, basically, like, it starts off with the brother and sister, they're playing video games, but they're playing an online multiplayer shooter where it's a team of 4v4, but it's just those two playing. So, they're playing with both their hands and their feet, and they're just awesome at it. So, they're just, like, that intertwined that they're, like, really connected.
Are you
and they
sure
know
there's
each
not
other.
like a foot fetish hiding in there someplace?
Oh, I'm pretty sure there's a foot fetish hiding in every anime. Have you seen the Japanese?
And number one here is maybe not the best candidate either, but Princess Mononoke.
That's a show? I thought
No,
that was a
no,
movie.
It's a
This
movie.
Yeah. This is
I guess it's less than 30 episodes.
well, it's confusing to me because they show Princess Mononoke on here, but then they describe something that is not Princess Mononoke.
Oh no, you're right.
Yeah, read.
The series is made up of individual chapters in which the medicine seller encounters, combats, and subsequently, destroys Mononoke.
And they're a type of unnatural spirit that linger in the human world.
The Mononoke are the type of Ayakashi. Oh, you just read that, or you just described that part.
Yep.
Yeah.
More or less, this sounds like a more action-oriented Mushishi.
Mushishi.
Have you not seen Mushishi?
Is that what we're watching?
Google.
next?
Holy shit. No, watching that won't solve anything because every episode like exists within its own little microcosm for the most part. It's one of those where like there is an evolving narrative throughout a season, but it's like each episode is very laser focused on a particular.
Oh,
This came out when I wasn't watching anime as
Dude.
much.
Not
Mushishi
Banco. There's a
is the type of anime that you like put on your laptop, you hop in the bathtub and you relax and you just watch one episode and it just puts you into this like kind of sleepy, dreamy state. Go to
there's
bed.
an anime that's really good where there's two characters in it. They're both American. This is like a time jumping anime, kind of a mystery, I think, from what I remember.
Mhm.
But all I really remember about it is that I liked it. And the two American characters, one of them would always yell, Maria! Did you guys see
Oh
that?
my God, Bakano.
We can watch that.
Bakano's great.
I'm familiar with Bakuno's spiritual successor.
I'm glad that I
Durarara.
Yeah, Durarara.
We've all seen that. Bakano's great if you love Durarara. And there is sort of a mystery to solve, I think, between
something
the whole
or
thing.
something.
Yeah.
We can watch that.
That's
I'm glad
probably
I
worth
just can
watching.
scream Maria and you know exactly what I was talking about. I was like, I know it starts with a B, but I'm thinking Banco Days for some reason.
Have the
Yeah.
two of you watched it though?
We have.
A long time ago, I dumped all I remembered about it.
Cookie, did I watch it with
No.
you?
It's
Okay.
We've
But
seen
I like Durarara.
yes, and we've seen episodes where we've seen shows where those two characters are actually they're in Durarara.
they are.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cool. They do some throwbacks to it. That's Muriel and Isaac.
Yeah,
And-
and they're in a bunch of different animes. They just like randomly pop up
They're
as
great
background
characters.
characters.
They're so much fun. It's a really fun anime. There is a mystery to be solved in it.
There's time travel elements, which confuses everything.
Oh.
Exactly. It's
It's about immortals.
Is it?
I think they're immortals.
No, I'm saying is it as in like you should stop talking so we don't give anything else away.
Hey, I'm remembering more and more.
Well, I've put him on the short list.
There's still things to solve about it, which is fine. It's pretty cool. I remember it because I've seen it both. Like I can't remember what I stuck with, but oh yeah, I did ended up watching it dubbed. It is actually a good
dub?
dub. Yeah. Subbed. There's a character named Carol, and she gets lectured to by like an older guy who's talking to her at several times while she's like trying to solve the mystery, sort of. And he always says Carol. And so whenever he says her name, when I have a coworker, Carol, she's like one of my most immediate bosses, and every once in a while I'll pop in my head and I'll think, Carol. It's great. It's a great show. We could do that, and it is short enough on the episodes.
I have one anime that might fit, but only a few episodes. It's currently airing. Only a few episodes are out right now, so I'm not sure if it would. It's called Sagrada Reset, or
Let's talk about it.
Sakurada Reseto. Real quickly, it's about a town, in which individuals happen to have powers. You could call them espers. Now, the gimmick...
What is up with you and JoJo?
Where did I bring up JoJo this time?
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's as soon as you say people have powers, but
they're not stand powers. In this particular case, if you move out of the town, you end up losing that power and all memory of it. So it's a weird phenomenon that like the government is not familiar with, except the local government. And powers can be anything from being able to speak to people or send messages, oral messages, audio, if you will, to people no matter where they are, assuming they're someplace in the town potentially. I don't know the limits of that. To something as crazy as being able to rewind time up to 3 days. The series follows two characters.
It sounds like with those two powers, you could have a really great mail service.
Yeah, that actually might happen too. The two main characters have powers that complement each other in a weird way. The male protagonist has the power to have perfect memory.
Mail as in MAIL is the mailman.
The second character has the ability to reset time by 3 days. So she does not retain memories of those 3 days or of that reset.
So that's completely useless, kind of.
Well, so that's when the main character and her team up, essentially.
She's reliant upon the first character
Future
to
Diary.
remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, where the first character is able to more or less fill her in on what needs to be done and has to be the one to take action.
So basically he can send notes through time
to himself, if you will.
Okay.
But like he carries all of his experiences, not to mention like his
he
memory's
remembers
perfect.
everything.
Yep.
Yeah, so he doesn't have to do like a Steins Gate type of thing where he's...
Is that where they're
trying
texting back in time or something? Or
Have
I
you
want to
guys-
watch that at some point.
You
so
guys
don't-
haven't seen Steins Gate?
No.
Holy
or
shit.
played
Unfortunately
it.
not. It's
It is one of the driest animes for the first like 8 or 9 episodes, and then it becomes truly spectacular. Like,
Oh,
and that's probably why I haven't watched it.
I
'Cause
know,
it
it's
sounds
really
like something
hard.
I've tried to watch.
I had a friend recommend it, and he was just like, "Look," he was so enthusiastic about it. I didn't feel right quitting on it, but it really just is nothing that thrilling for the first couple episodes. But they need it to like set it up. It takes a long time to set up this story, and once they do, it gets like so unexpectedly good. That could be a mystery one that we do as well.
I'm
Add
down.
it to the list.
And Neil, I'm not 100% sure if this is real, but I was kind of looking at pictures of the anime you were talking about.
Mhm.
And there's a side-by-side cover of like something that may not be a live action version of it.
Oh yeah, there's one film that's already been done live action, and then they're working on a second film. If not, it's already done and going to be shown in May, I think.
Shown
So
in May.
this is a light novel series that's been going on for a few years, and there's been a short manga which just basically covers the first or episodes 3 and 4 of the anime, but not 1 and 2. Yeah, seems interesting. There's one limitation with the resetting power, and she's only able to reset once during that period of time.
So once she goes back 3 days, she obviously can't go back again, but for the next 3 days, she doesn't have a reset, right?
She's able to save again and then reset to the new save point, if you will. But
but you can't.
This,
So during the 3 day, so this is my 3 day period. I'm holding up 2 hands like a field goal. The hand on the right is where she resets to.
Yep.
And until she can't reset again until she gets back to where the hand on the left is.
No, if you want to think of it this way, every save point only has one reset. So
she only gets one chance to reset.
Yeah.
Per like outcome.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, if a day passes after that first reset point, she might be able to save again. I haven't gotten far enough to know what the other restrictions are, but basically
she's got enough restrictions that it sounds like it's not simply just going back and trying something new.
You can't just constantly reset and try new things. Like you have some sort of pressing, like something bad might happen, and you have to figure out what you can do within that first reset.
Oh, that sounds like this game that just came out.
Life is Strange.
No, different game where you're solving a murder mystery and you can't interact with things directly, and you can't actually be in the room when the murder happens. You've got to like use keyholes and things to kind of like piece together the
This
murder.
sounds like something I would be really interested in.
I think it's on the Switch too, actually.
While you're looking that up,
Are we moving to news?
yeah, let's talk about Nintendo for that matter, and how they've just announced, rather, a new 2DS XL.
You mean the new 3DS minus the 3D feature?
They took 1D out.
Yeah. If you take 3DS and subtract a D,
One
you get
DS?
2DS.
Well, because
right?
if you're subtracting a D from 3DS, it would be 3DS minus 1D.
Wouldn't it just be
You need
3S? You take the D out. Who cares?
It depends on whether these are exponents. God, fuck this conversation.
Yeah. Did you want to get into derivatives here?
So my opinion on the 2DS, the new 2DS, I actually really liked the old 2DS because
the wedge.
Yeah, just because of the price point. Because I was like, I don't really need the 3D. So what's this thing costing?
It's 150.
Yeah, 150. Not bad.
I was really torn for a long time between getting a 3DS XL and just getting a 2DS. And the wedge shape was cool, but I think the clamshell design is ultimately what sold me, because I wanted to be able to, like shut it and protect the screen as opposed to buy a case. But that was about the only thing that stopped me. So this is great. And also, you guys who have used the 3DSs, I have my like 3D function on at all times for the most part, but it's normally pretty low. Like it's midway on the bar or lower. I don't think it's something I absolutely need, but after my eyes got used to it, it was a nice feature.
I'm really impressed with the eye tracking they have on those 3DSs as well.
Oh, it's like amazing.
It was a really impressive piece of hardware, but I don't feel like a lot of people honestly used it. And that's why this 2DS may be a good move for them to
know back when I had the original 3DS, I really loved it.
The first question I have is how many people are going to go ahead and take their 3DS and exchange it for a 2DS or something like that?
Why would you do that?
Probably not.
Well, I guess if you only have the old 3DS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how you get
point.
the new one. That's because that's something I could potentially do. I have the old 3DS,
And
not with the C-Stick. And I'd probably pick up the new 2DS as opposed to a 3DS. Save a bit of money.
Yeah.
And whenever you have cheap hardware like this too, the thought comes into my mind, how easy would it be to get a 2DS or 2DS XL and mod it to have an HDMI output?
So
if you need to mod it, I've got the right screwdrivers. That
Oh,
you need
really?
now. Yeah, I've got tri-wing screwdrivers now.
I'll keep that in mind.
I should also note that there's only one color apparently for this 2DS XL.
What color is it?
It's like turquoise and black for the United States.
Oh.
Japan has a different color scheme, if I remember correctly.
Damn,
White and red.
Japanese. Oh, so I still can't find that one game I'm looking for, but I mentioned to you earlier
White and
about
orange. That's what it is. Go ahead.
Splatoon. So I did mention to you, Scott, earlier because of a comment you said a couple of days ago that anything that says it has something to do with the Dark Souls of a game that you're all in for.
I'm in, yeah.
The game is called Tumbleseed on the Nintendo Switch. One of the things I read was like, it's the Dark Souls of marble rolling.
That's right. A roly roguelike is what it says on its website. Oh no. This looks like the type of game. Oh, you know what? Is it going to be one of those balance games where you try and balance the marble to
So I think it's less of a balancing the marble and you're more adjusting where the marble is so it doesn't fall in holes.
Yeah, there's a game like that actually at Beercade that I got into a lot. A buddy of mine that I used to go there with all the time has a friend who is a surgeon, and so when he plays that game, it is like poetry watching how well he's able to play it. It's
Oh, wow.
amazing. He's got really good hand-eye coordination,
Nice.
and so like I do like these types of games already, and the Switch could do a really cool thing with that, depending on if you rotate the Switch to like adjust how the marble rolls, or the one that was at like Beercade is it's two like switches, and so it raises or lowers on either the left hand or right hand side of a bar to create an angle. since you can't just be tilting a machine.
So will they
easily.
use their sensor thing, like with the 1-2 switch, how they have the marbles in a box? Will it feel like an actual
3D
marble?
The
Maybe.
Rumble 3D
Yeah.
HD Rumble?
Yeah.
No clue.
That'd be cool if they could make it like that, though.
Persona 5 restrictions lifted up a little bit over
A little
the last
bit.
week.
They're not willing to like totally remove the gag order, but they're at least. I feel like they're jumping quite a bit further into the calendar.
Yes, they're
with what
going
they're
to
releasing.
November 7th, I think.
They're like, hey, don't post anything after July. Okay. So that kind of made it sound like the game ends in August. Don't post anything after November.
Yep.
Looks like the game ends in December.
They also apologized. They're like, we didn't mean to sound threatening. Sure, we threatened you, but
and sure, we took down some channels.
We may have
But-
killed a guy. We realized our wrong, though.
I set a guy on fire.
I still don't necessarily feel too bad about the way they went out to do that. Speaking as a person that did not listen to a podcast while he was playing Persona 5 and did not really go to any Reddits or online communities during that period of time too. I wonder if this makes if this means that at one point in time all restrictions will be lifted from Persona 5.
Question mark, yes, is what I'm going to say. Like,
Guaranteed yes is what I'm going to say.
you
'Cause-
can't keep it in the dark forever. There's no way to do that.
Yeah.
And why would you want to?
Right. At some point in time, like the
community will want to
Yeah.
express, their response and like
their thoughts and
Their
feelings.
thoughts
on
and
the
feelings.
ending.
PlayStation 4 finally gave me the opportunity to set my own screenshot as my background picture for my menu. And then they're just like, this game is full of awesome effing screenshots. By the way, we disabled that effing function.
Aw.
On this topic of Persona 5, there's also a vinyl coming out, or a couple sets of vinyl coming out, as was brought to, was it you, Scott?
I
or-
brought this up. This is so Neil and Cookie. I know both of you are big into music like I am. I assume you're an audiophile because of like how much work you do with music and recording and things like this.
Yeah.
What are your feelings on vinyl? Because people who actually know music very intimately and well and have a background or education in it normally have opinions on vinyl that don't necessarily like coincide with hipsters who like to have vinyl because it's cool and Urban Outfitters sells record players.
Vinyl can't have full bandwidth, if you will. Like there are restrictions with how much bass you can have, otherwise you're going to make a needle skip and such.
Mhm.
Also, vinyl is a physical media that alters every time you play it, much like a cassette tape.
Right.
When
So
it's
it has
not,
its own aesthetic.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'd say that
Yeah.
it ultimately has, like, in comparison to most any other thing, I find that vinyl normally has the brightest sound. There are some artists that I really like it to work for, but that's
And-
the only thing I can think of.
well,
for
it's a
why
scary thing too when you think about the fact that just like a cassette tape or an analog tape, every time you play that vinyl or that cassette, technically it's slightly different from the last time you played it.
Yeah, but hey, that's like live music, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
true.
Right.
It's just the scary fact that like a digital copy, on the other hand, is permanent, and unless it gets corrupted, it's never changing.
Right.
You could say, quote unquote, it's perfect in the fact that it is
It'll be the
unalterable.
Yeah,
Right.
vinyl has a sound, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I'm personally like, I never listen to vinyl anymore, but I love vinyl as a collector's item. But I don't buy it too often. It's very
I-
specific.
I listen to vinyl in the sense of there's a lot of things that was in existence back in the day. Lots of good music that was like,
Mhm.
yeah, this is really great. But the way they recorded it, it hit wax really wonderfully, but it didn't translate over to the radio.
Yep.
So those people just flat out died.
They died out. Yeah.
Or similarly, you have a lot of remasters available, but those remasters / remixes don't sound nearly as good as the original
Mhm.
mix and masters that are only on vinyl at this point, or
And-
cassette.
Yeah. And with that being said, some newer albums, I forget, like, I had some random, like, rap CD on vinyl where the person, it was like early days of Autotune. That's on vinyl sounded just God awful. Like as soon as like an auto-tuned voice came in,
That would
it
make
just got
sense,
really
Oh
wouldn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's definitely a level of mastering or pre-mastering for vinyl that I think for a period of time before during vinyl's like resurfacing or resurrection, that we were not as like an audio industry, I should say, or as an industry, we were not conscious of the different processes or pre-processes you needed to do to get something prepared for vinyl.
Mhm. So back to Persona specifically for vinyl, there's not just one option, but there is two options. The first is the Essential Edition, which is it is the most popular. It's like a curated or a like top picks of the Persona soundtrack. And so 4X LP, so that means it's 4 vinyl discs.
Yep.
Okay, and then their deluxe edition, which is only 2 extra discs, so a 6X LP, will have all 110 songs. Does that mean that it's going to have like the little jingles of, like I found a treasure chest? Doo-doo-doo.
It might not have those specific ones, but it'll have everything going down to like, oh, you're watching a TV show that actually has a jingle on it. Like it's going to, or like a video game if you're playing one that has music.
If I don't get Juness, I'm gonna be pissed.
See, I kind of have a problem with that because I do really, really love some good video game soundtracks. But when it gets to the point, like I'm listening to a soundtrack and it's a small, like just really small, like maybe 5 to 10 second quip, I'm like, don't play this. I want the music from it. And although this is really good music, if you put it on a like music sheet and it's 5 or 6 bars, please do not add that as like that's a track.
It'll be longer than
over.
that. Like I think the shortest track you'll find will be like 40 seconds, 30 seconds around there.
And that's fine too. Like that's still a pretty good chunk of time. If you have more than 30 seconds, then there is quite a bit that can happen in a piece of music at that point.
Now, I'm really curious as to the real difference between the 4 and 6 disc sets because, and I'll make this short so we can move on. But if you actually look at the complete OST track list, what you're going to see as those extra tracks, I'm assuming, are going to be like the several different versions of one song.
Yeah,
like
permutations on the battle theme. If there's
exactly
a boss battle theme that's similar or something.
Or in some cases, like, all right, you have a theme that plays at night, and if it's raining, you have some of the percussion taken out of it because it's literally that, not picky, but that detailed at times. Or maybe if you're in the summer, a track changes slightly to make it more lively. And in the fall, it goes back to its, quieter winter / spring version.
So the last thing I'd like to say about the vinyl is that the album art is currently in the dark. Like they don't want anyone to know what the album art is going to be yet. What do we know about Persona 5? It has absolutely gorgeous art and design and style. So honestly, I'm just really thrilled to see what this album art looks like when it comes out. Like, that alone will be an art piece. Like if you're a fan of their stuff, I feel like that's something you'd want to prominently display.
Oh, at these prices, I think it's only going to be the diehard fans buying it because the Essential Edition costs $100.
Fuck it.
The deluxe
it's $175 for the
$175.
deluxe.
Yeah, it's
nope.
And only 1,000 are being made.
Right? Yeah, there's more than 1,000 people who play Persona. There's like at least 2,000. Yeah,
there's at least 6.
I thought I knew who this company I Am 8-Bit was, but they are not the same company I was thinking of. That's been repressing old game soundtrack vinyl, so I can't really comment much on their work.
Finally found it. God damn it.
Is this the game you brought up before?
Yeah, I've been trying to find it this entire time. It's called the Sexy Brutale.
The Sexy Brutale?
Yeah.
Sexy Brutale.
But Brutale.
Yep, yeah.
$20 on Steam. Came out just a couple weeks ago. Top-down view? No.
Oh, you know what? I have seen something for this. Also, it's by Tequila Works. These guys have done, oh man, they did a side-scrolling zombie platformer game that I can't remember exactly the name of, but I played it Deadlight. They made Deadlight, which for anybody who hasn't played that, that's a pretty good game.
Yeah, it looks more like that. So not quite top down, but
Almost isometric, except not really isometric, but that sort of view.
I don't like it. I don't like the art.
Looks like it's going to be like an adventure game.
so it's a murder mystery. Basically, each room there's a murder that happens. You can't interact with the room while the murder's going on, but you can like reset time and adjust like where position props and things are in order to like stop the murder from happening. And like you peek through windows or door locks. Can you actually look through a lock like that? Do locks work
It
like that
depends
anymore?
if it's really old lock.
Yeah, if it's an old lock,
Yeah,
then yes.
You can, yeah.
And then
If you're not in
and then
the
you see
1700s, then no.
you see the pepper spray on the other side, and they're like, I was waiting. For this." Game over.
Yeah, my feelings are a little mixed on it. Word on the street is that Vivendi will again try to buy out Ubisoft in 2017.
Oh,
What? Vivendi's going to be making
Ramen.
no,
Making it rain?
they wouldn't be making like the weird Ubisoft games. They'd be
Assassin's
making-
Okay.
Creed. Assassin's Creed, 1,000 more years.
Assassin's Creed Infinite Warfare.
pretty much.
Infinite assassination. Yeah, enough said.
Yeah, Vivendi was trying to play coy about purchasing Ubisoft by making public statements that shifted between, yeah, we'd really like to no, I don't think we're going to do that. That's not in our future track. By the way, we really want to buy Ubisoft. So it's just one of those things where they're like, I don't know, they're going to be this threatening presence for Ubisoft right now with them worrying if Vivendi picks them up, and then that restricts their abilities to do
make the same
more
game.
creative stuff. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like Ubisoft Montreal has done some cool stuff with their like more indie game approach. Besides that though, I don't remember any Ubisoft games that I've played in a while that I've thought that were just awesome and
They
great.
made Ghost
or
Recon's
different.
Wildlands, which is awesome and great if you have friends to play it with. But if you don't have friends to play it with, it just becomes Destiny.
I've heard
yeah.
some not so stellar reviews from that. One coming from you, Cookie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, wasn't playing with friends, so it's just like,
Yeah.
this is a Ubisoft game.
If this were to happen, I would almost say you can probably kiss
Ubisoft
Deus Ex goodbye.
Oh yeah.
And then probably those games like what was the adventure
Rayman?
game that took place in World War One?
Oh,
Valiant Hearts.
Yeah,
Valiant Hearts.
That was good.
Soldats Inconnus is the French name of it. So it's like the soldiers of the Great War, like unknown soldiers of the Great War.
Was that developed by the Montreal studio? I think
that's
it was.
Yeah, that
probably
was
the Montreal
definitely
studio.
Montreal.
So is Child of Light, which is another really,
I didn't
really
even
great one.
realize.
Man, that I love that game. It's really good.
Yeah, so if this happens, I'm wondering what the state of
If
those
we
titles.
lose those games, I'll be heartbroken.
They're gonna retroactively go back into time and take them
Yeah,
from
pull
existence.
them out. They never happened. But those are the things that I like and respect about Ubisoft still to this day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I loved Assassin's Creed when it came out. The first one.
The first.
And
yeah.
the second one was fine too. And then I was done. And
I like
so,
3. 3
Was that
good.
the one where you could play multiplayer and assassinate other
That was
actual
Brotherhood?
players?
Yeah, Brotherhood. I think
yeah.
that was 3. No, not officially 3, but the third one. Because
Okay,
they're pulling
yeah,
a Kingdom
'cause-
Hearts and doing whatever the fuck they feel like.
Yeah, they did something. They did like 1, 2, and then 2 spin-offs, and then a third one.
Because
or
that was kind of
something.
fun, the multiplayer
Mhm.
aspect of it.
Yeah,
was
playing it
kind of
multiplayer.
interesting.
Now,
But so Deus Ex and Assassin's Creed, like, I don't care. I really don't care. If they kill the indie games, that's when it matters to me.
Rayman.
Rayman, yeah, Rayman
I
was
love Rayman.
really successful, actually. That's
Yeah.
an awesome game.
It's a good game. Whoa. Holy shit.
This is
It's
studio
storming.
effects.
Yeah.
real quickly, Marvel vs. Capcom Ultimate.
That looks real good. I'm super excited, but I'm a little more excited for they just announced even more characters on Injustice 2, which is coming out sooner.
Yep. When's Injustice 2 coming out?
Correct.
That
While
means-
you're looking for that, Marvel vs. Capcom Ultimate comes out September 19th, 2017. What's not coming out while you're looking up that date? Resident Evil 7's DLC, Not a Hero.
Which is free, by the way. I didn't know that. I was looking into it a little bit more. They're Not a Hero DLC with the super popular character Chris
Redfield.
Yeah. They're having a free DLC for a character that everybody wants to see appear in a game. That's kind of cool. It's also free. Nobody can complain too much about this.
Yeah.
I feel like it's something that they're going to be giving you at some point in time. Don't get upset about it because it's not arriving on the like timetable that you want. Because if you get something that's free and shitty, you're going to be upset or you won't care about it. If you get something that's of some sort of quality and free, you're going to feel pretty good about that.
Also, things that aren't coming out anytime soon. Kingdom Hearts 3. It's been pushed back to possibly in 2018?
2018 or beyond.
It could be like Persona 5 where, I was looking for it in 2015 and now it's finally out.
Dude, I've been looking
And
for
I don't-
fucking Kingdom Hearts 3 since 2012, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But Friday the 13th is coming out May 26th. Unfortunately, not on a Friday that
I
happens
know.
to be the 13th.
That would have been
You think
dope.
they'd
Yeah.
wait to do that?
I know.
Speaking of
That
things,
was one of the hotly discussed rumors for the longest time, but
speaking of things that are coming out in May, Injustice 2, May 16th.
Oh, that is soon.
That
Yeah.
is really soon.
I really kind of want to play both of those games with you guys, although I also don't want to, have us buy 4 or 5 copies of Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would
We're going to at least need 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it.
I-
I'm 100% on the Injustice.
I love the
in a couple
game
weeks.
as a free to play
As a concept,
aspect,
yeah.
but it's not going to be free to play. We already know it's going to
also-
be featured full priced.
It doesn't look that good graphically. Like
That's part of the fun, though.
my thing is like if you don't have the power to make a game look good graphically, you replace that by being more artistic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be
you
a
alter
smart
the art
direction to
style.
go to. But then you can't get Jason Voorhees teleporting.
You can't
and
get it just right.
stabbing,
Yeah.
stabbing people who are trying to hide underneath beds because they were trying to be all fancy. Did you see that clip?
Yeah, I did. I saw all of it. It's pretty great though. Some of the it's
The concept of this game
brutal
looks
in the
wonderful.
executions.
There are some pretty cool looking things in that game.
You would play it, Cookie?
Based
Is
on
it
that concept,
scary
yes.
game?
It's not too scary. It's more
No.
like,
Cookie's a brave boy.
No, he's not.
and the voice chat system is actually pretty cool too. Assuming you're using that as opposed to Discord or something, you can hear people within
It's
proximity.
a proximity chat,
Ah.
right?
Yep. Or if you get a walkie-talkie, you could talk to anyone else that happens to have a working walkie-talkie.
And then I'm Jason Voorhees, and I'm just like waiting for the boop beep that happens with the walkie-talkie.
Hey, someone got that chirp phone. You damn man.
So just imagine running away from Cookie as Jason, or Cookie as Jason. You're running away from him, and you're trying to like trash talk him or try and plead for your life and convince him to kill someone else instead of you, because you're Jason. Cookie is Jason in this case, and you have the choice to go and kill other people if you want. I mean, the relationship as you read it was an asymmetric 7 versus 1 survival game.
Yeah,
so
I'm
the
not
odds
above.
are in his favor.
I'm not above bribing a killer to deal with my friends.
Exactly. And that's what
And
makes
I'm
it
not above,
interesting.
as a killer, taking
Killing.
bribes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Looks like-
not backstabbing.
it's
but
like
kind of
Cookie and I
backstabbing.
will get along just fine, at least for a short period.
Just
Yeah,
send him
for
the
a
PayPal
short period
account.
of time.
Yo, can I Venmo you that?
Eggs, yeah, man.
All right, that's all we got?
Yeah, that's our show.
Thank God.
I'm Neil.